Hey everybody, this is the Mage of Ancients, and I'm very excited to give you guys this deck profile update. The reason why I'm very excited is because this is actually the deck that I used in my first ever local tournament. And that local tournament was actually a 6-box tournament where the grand prize was 6 boxes of Battles of Legend Relentless Avenge. Unfortunately, I did not win. I think it's because of the new time rules, and of course Goki Nightmare is still legal, basically. And what's actually surprising is that after I lost the first round, that I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna pack it up and just go home. But I didn't realize that it was actually 3 rounds of Swiss. I think that's how it works, right? You out of 3 rounds, you try and get the most points, and then you see who comes out on top and who wins the grand prize. So anyway, there were only 8 participants in this tournament, and so I ended up actually topping top 8. But the next time I play a tournament like this, then I want to make sure that there are a lot more competitors. So that way it feels really good to actually work towards making the top cut. But either way, I made top 8 in this tournament, and my consolation prize was 8 packs of Battles of Legend Relentless Avenge. If you guys want to see what I pulled, then be sure to check out my Instagram. And so the reason why I played Lightsworn Zombie Dino is because it's the deck that I was most comfortable with, despite the new time rules. And despite the fact that grass looks greener is no longer legal here in the TCG. So before I get to this deck profile, I think it's only fair that I give you guys my tournament report. So, like I said, it was 3 rounds of Swiss, and the first round was against the Goki Nightmare deck. For the first ever round that I played, it had to be against the Goki Nightmare deck. And I was holding up pretty well. I mean, I couldn't really do anything during games 1 and 3, mainly because of the Goki Nightmare lockdown. All I was able to do during my first game was to just switch the Ibli on my field to attack mode and just get rid of it, so that way I could special summon other monsters other than just Link monsters. And yeah, Link Karibo and Firewall Dragon just happened to be there as well. And I was actually trying to use my Edgem Sabers, but my opponent had Called by the Grave, so I couldn't use that. And I had to scoop that game, and I went into game 2, and I decided to go first, and I was actually able to use the Predaplant and Brilliant Fusion engines to go into Curious, and then as well as my Seraphonite, and then I was able to go to get my Fairy Tale Snow into the graveyard so I could disrupt my opponent and then win game 2. But then I ended up losing game 3, and I ended up losing round 1. Round 2 was a different story, actually. It was actually against a friend that I met like maybe 1 or 2 years ago when I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! Again. He was playing the new Golden Castle deck. And man, unless my opponent had Pumpkin Carriage, then there was no way for me to out that Golden Castle. What's funny about this round is that during game 1, I realized that I screwed up, and I already had my Fairy Tale Snow in my graveyard. So what I was trying to do is I was trying to flip my opponent's Pumpkin Carriage so I can go ahead and go after the Golden Castle, destroy it. But yeah, I messed up, and I think I ended up popping something else. I think it was the Pumpkin Carriage or something. Yeah, I don't remember what it was, but I ended up scooping game 1, and then I went to game 2, and I won that one. I also won game 3 with barely any seconds on the clock. So yeah, I ended up winning games 2 and 3, and I was able to win that round. But then I went into game 3, and I was actually surprised to see a World Chalice Nightmare as my last opponent for that tournament. The one thing that really screwed me over about that deck was the Archlord Christia. I don't know how he got it, but he was actually able to add it to his hand. And yeah, I couldn't special summon any monsters, and I ended up losing both games 1 and 2. But yeah, that is my tournament report. Hopefully next time, if I ever actually have to play this deck again, I'm going to reduce the card count from 60 to 45. And yeah, I'm probably going to incorporate hand traps and other attacks like Called by the Grave and DD Crow. Maybe even Ash Blossom and Drone Lockbird if I'm lucky to find any of those cards nowadays. In the meantime, I just might incorporate DD Crow and Called by the Grave, as well as Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries if I decided to. But enough about that. If you guys have any suggestions on what I should do to improve this deck, then let me know down in the comments. With that being said and done, let's just get on with this 60 card deck profile update. So to start off with the monsters, I ran 2 copies of Judgment Dragon. I figured that 2 Judgment Dragons were enough, mainly because this is a 60 card deck, and I wanted to run as many. I want to run more boss monsters rather than just this. So yeah. So after that, for the main Lightsworn monsters, I ran Triple Raiden, Triple Wolf, and then after that, 2 copies of Lumina, 1 Felice, 1 Minerva Lightsworn Maiden, and finally 1 Lumina Twilightsworn Shaman. So yeah, mainly what you want to do is that you want to go for either Lumina or Raiden on your field, either by a normal summon or a special summon, and then after that you can just continue plays from there. I wanted to be able to set up for as many extra deck summons as I could. So that's why I decided to run 2 copies of Minerva instead of just 1. Lumina is actually the one that I actually included like last minute. Mainly because we never know if this card is going to get reprinted in the Megatons or not. I didn't really go into this as often, but this is a dark monster, so you could banish this off of a Blackluster Soldier if you wanted to. Now for my zombies, of course, I decided to run 3 copies of Shiranui Solitaire, along with 1 Spirit Master. And then after that, 3 copies of Mizuki, as well as 2 copies of Unizombie. So yeah, what mainly happens is that what you want to do is that you normal summon your Solitaire or special summon it maybe off of Goblinberg, and then tribute it to special summon your Unizombie and just get whatever cards you want from your deck or your hand into the graveyard and increase its level by 1, so it becomes a level 4 tuner zombie. And then later on, you can activate other graveyard effects or do any other shenanigans. And just continue your combos from there. And of course, if you banish both Shiranui Solitaire and Spirit Master off of Fairy Tail Snow, for example, then you can trigger both of their effects so that you can chain link 2 as your Spirit Master so you can destroy, and then you can chain link 1 your Solitaire so that way you can special summon back your Spirit Master to use for later. Next, I ran a very small dinosaur engine. I ran Ultimate Conductor Tyranno, Overtex Quatless, Giant Rex, and finally Soul Eating Oviraptor. Yeah, this is a very small dinosaur lineup, and when it came to Game 3, the person I was playing against realized that I was playing very little dinosaurs, so yeah, he suggested that I also include Doggoren the Mad Flame Kaiju. And I can see why. You can either special summon it off of Double Evolution Pill, or maybe you can add it to your hand off of Oviraptor or Quatless, and then you could just special summon it to your opponent's side of the field and then just take advantage of that. And what's really cool is that if you use Fairy Tail Snow to banish cards from your graveyard, hand, and your field, I think. Is that what it's called? Anyway, you can banish Rex and Solitaire and Spirit Master all at once to special summon your Snow, and then you can actually chain all 3 of these effects along with your Fairy Tail Snow and then just take advantage of that. And then after that, I don't know what kind of deck this would be without this card. I decided to run the Predaplant engine for this tournament. So 3 copies of Orpheus Scorpio, along with 1 Darlingtonia Cobra. And then for my Gem Knight monster, I decided to go with Gem Knight Emerald, mainly because I figured that if I'm going to be running Underclock Taker in this deck, actually I don't run it, but just in case I run Underclock Taker, then I actually have an effect monster that I can use to just send away to link summon my Underclock Taker. And yeah, Garnet is not an effect monster, but Gem Knight Emerald is. So yeah, I decided to include that as my Gem Knight monster. But it is a brick, and if you could draw it in your hand nonetheless, just like Garnet. And I also ran Heroic Challenge 1000 Blades, of course, to get off of Invoker. And for the Perform Mages, I ran Perform Mage Trick Clown, 1 Damage Juggler, along with 2 copies of Hat Trigger. Hat Trigger is probably my favorite Perform Mage out of the 3 over here, mainly because if there are 2 or more monsters on the field, then you can special summon this from your hand, and then you just continue your combo plays from there. And now for my other monsters in my deck. Of course, just like Ultimate Conductor Tyranno and Judgment Dragon, I had to have another boss monster. So I ran 1 Orbital Hydralander, and then after that, 2 copies of Goblinberg, 3 copies of Honestly Honest, And then after that, one copy of Fairy Tale Snow. I would have included more copies, but I wanted to save that for my Burning Abyss deck profile. And so long as you have at least one copy of Snow, then you should be good. I also run 2 copies of Edgem Sabers. It's actually pretty good. I don't know why people don't run this card in Lightsworn decks more often. So what you do is that you place any card on top of your deck and then just special summon this card from your graveyard. Maybe you wanted to get your Gem Knight monster into your deck, and then you just activate your Brilliant Fusion so you can send those away, and then just go into Gem Knight Seraphonite. And the last monster that I ran in this main deck is Glow Up Bulb. This is good, especially it gives you an extra mill, and you can also go into cards like Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon as well as Trishula. And now for my spells, of course, I decided to run 3 copies of Charge of the Light Brigade. Probably the best searcher of this entire deck, mainly because it's not once per turn, and you know, you can just continue searching for Lightsworn monsters, and of course get the cards from your deck into the graveyard. And if you have any Lightsworn monsters that you just want to get from your hand into the graveyard, then you have Solar Recharge. I run 2 copies of that. So you discard your Lightsworn monster, then draw 2, and then mill 2. And of course, when there's the Predaplant engine, there's got to be the Brilliant Fusion engine as well. So I run 3 copies of that. I completed my playset of Brilliant Fusions right on, I think, 1 week or 2 weeks before this tournament actually happened. But yeah, either way, I'm actually really glad that I was able to incorporate the Brilliant Fusion into this deck for this tournament. And then after that, 1 double evolution pill, 1 reinforcement of the army, 1 Monster Reborn, 2 copies of Monster Reincarnation, and then after that, 1 Foolish Burial, and the only trap card that I run in this deck, as well as my 60th card, is Lightsworn Judgment. Lightsworn Judgment is a Lightsworn card, so that if you in case you mill this off of Minerva, that you can draw 1 more card, and when you mill this card off of a Lightsworn monster, then you can actually add Judgment Dragon, which is why I decided to incorporate this card into this deck for this tournament. Foolish Burial, of course, is really good because you gotta just send cards from your deck to the graveyard. And yeah, Brilliant Fusion is there, Double Evolution Pill. This card is actually $7, which is why I decided not to invest in another copy for now. Personally, I'm actually pretty glad that Monster Reborn is back into this meta. Mainly because I can actually use it and, you know, take advantage of it. Anybody can take advantage of it, really. And now from my extra deck. Unfortunately, I did not have a side deck for this tournament, mainly because I don't have enough sleeves. So that's why I decided to try and make my 60 card deck as versatile as possible. But the next time I update this deck, I'm probably going to incorporate more hand traps like DD Crow or Called by the Grave as well. And if I ever get Ash Blossom and Droll Lockbird and Ghost Ogre, then I just might incorporate those. Let's go on to my extra deck. For my extra deck, I run 1 copy of Minerva, along with Diamond Direwolf, Bujinki Amaterasu, and to wrap up my Xyz monsters, I ran 1 MX Saber Invoker to complete my Predaplant engine. Well, not yet, really. And for my Link monsters, I run Curious, Decode Talker, Mrs. Radiant, and finally the World Chalice Priestess. I think I already said that I want to reduce the card count in this deck from 60 to 45, and I might take this out. Well, actually, I am. Of course, I'm going to take out Invoker and Radiant because I don't want to run the Predaplant engine and Brilliant Fusion engine anymore. Mainly because I want to be able to more easily access the cards that I want. So yeah, I just might include the Nightmares instead. And then for my Synchro monsters, I ran, bear with me here, Ancient Sacred Wyvern. I don't know why people don't use this card more often. It's really good, especially if you are going second and you just try and push for game. This card just is really good for OTKs. So yeah. And then of course, 1 Michael the Archlightsworn, and then Odd Eyes Meteor Burst Dragon, 1 Scarlet Red Dragon, Archfiend, 1 Crystal Wing Synchro Dragon, 1 Trishula, Dragon of the Ice Barrier, and finally, for my 15th card in my extra deck, I think that is 8 plus 6 is 14, and then 15. So Gem Knight Seraphonite, of course, to complete my Brilliant Fusion engine for that extra normal summon. Of course, this is not the best side deck in the world, but I want to, again, just like my side deck, my main deck, I want to incorporate as many possible monsters, so that way I can just adapt to pretty much any situation. Ugh. Seraphonite, it just doesn't look good when it's sideways, so I'll just put it there. That is my extra deck, and I'm actually pretty proud of it. Also, the reason why I decided to include a Diamond Direwolf instead of Tornado Dragon is mainly because, you know, this card could destroy any card on the field along with itself. Tornado Dragon may have a quick effect, but that's to destroy any spell or trap on the field. And Diamond Direwolf destroys any card on the field instead of just a spell or trap. But it really is up to you. If you guys want to incorporate Tornado Dragon, then you can definitely do that. So that's it for this deck profile update, guys. Thank you all so much for watching. If you guys have any suggestions on what I should do to improve this deck, then be sure to let me know down in the comments. And of course, be sure to leave suggestions on what other deck profiles you guys would like to see in the meantime. So again, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys enjoyed this video and you want to help support the channel, then be sure to hit that like button. And of course, be sure to solemnly strike that subscribe button. And of course, click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when I upload brand new Yu-Gi-Oh videos. Thanks for tuning in, everybody, and I'll see you next time.